All right, we are going to keep working with the calculators this week. And if you follow along in the TI tutorial packet, we're going to do chapters 2, 4, and then 14. Some of the different activities from there. So I'm just going to start with adding a calculator to get started. So we're going to start with just some basic algebra kind of things. Did you know that you could actually simplify variables, expressions, things like that? So the key is that you have to know how to enter things in. So just like GeoGebra, there are expectations in how you need to enter expressions, mathematical statements into the calculator to be able to get the correct answer. So when we're working with more than one variable, so for example, 2xy plus 3xy. In order to do that, I have to put a multiplication symbol between every single piece. So 2 times x times y. And if I want to add 3xy, I need to do times x times y in order for it to do the simplification. So there should be a time sign between every single piece within the term. So it will not work the same if I hit 2xy plus 3xy. It does look a little different there. It actually did work, but sometimes it doesn't, especially if the variables are flipped. So if I had 2xy plus 3yx, then it won't add them together. But if I did it the first way, 2 times x times y plus 3 times y times x, if I do it that way, then it's going to notice that it is all of the variables. It is going to take this as xy is being together, and this is yx is being together. So xy is different than yx because it's lumping them together versus x times y, which is what we really want. So we do want to be careful anytime we're doing something like that. We want to have a multiplication sign between every variable along the way. And that'll work with, fractions, division, thing like that. If I want to simplify, let's say we have 28 times x times y squared over 14 xy times x times y. So it will do that simplification for me. Do know that this little error comes up here just to say the domain of the result might be different than the domain that I started with. So it's just a warning, a caution of, hey, this is your answer, but if you needed to be concerned about your initial domain, you do need to know that x can't be 0. X is equals 0 would be a whole, things like that. So it's just giving you a cautionary symbol there. All right, I could evaluate any expression. So let's say I wanted to take let's make it 2x plus 3y minus 4z. And I want to plug in what x is, what y is, and what z is. So I can I need the vertical symbol here. It's above this. So if I hit control equals, I want this. This is going to tell me such that, then I can type x equals 2. I'm going to type the word and then you'll see that it goes from italics to regular font, recognizing it as a command and not a variable. Y is -3 and z is 0. And it will go and plug that in. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times -3 is -9. 4 minus 9 is -5. And then minus 4 times 0 is still -5. So that's kind of fun. Do know that it'll keep pi's in your problem. So if you had a formula for you're working with volumes of spheres, so 4/3 times pi r cubed, so times pi, so pi r cubed, so times, let's say the radius is 3, so 3 to the third. It is going to keep the answer with pi there. Again, what we did last week is if I wanted to figure out what that is roughly equal to, I can arrow back up, hit enter, and then hit control enter, and it will round that for me. So we did that. All right, so another thing we can do is define functions. So I'm actually going to type the word define. And once I finish that word, again, it goes to a regular font, recognizing the command. So I'm going to define a function. So let's say define f1. So my first function with respect to x is, let's just say x squared minus 4x plus 5. And I can hit enter, and it'll say done. So that is telling you, okay, I did this process. So now if I want to figure out what is f1, oops, I typed f1, and now it bolds it because, hey, I am recognizing what function. That's a function I have saved, so it's going to recognize it, evaluate it at 1. It'll calculate it for me. I can plug in a different value, x plus h, and it'll plug it in. I could plug in anything. It is going to be able to do that for me. I can use, so let's look at some of the algebra tools here. So algebra, we used, I showed you factor last time. So expand, this will distribute for you. So if I had -5 times the quantity x plus 3, it's going to distribute that out. I can type the word expand or go to the menu, whatever's faster. And let's say I needed to FOIL, and it was 2x minus 3 times x plus 5. And it'll multiply that out for me. So that one's nice. We did work with factor. So I could, just if you wanted to, factor, let's say we want to factor a GCF. So 12m, or 12, sorry, times m minus 4. Okay, so it pulls out your GCF. It will factor quadratics, it'll factor polynomials, it'll factor whatever you plug in there. It is going to do that for you. You just have to use the function factor. It will also, so like if it's a square root, so let's say x squared minus 5, you're going to get positive and negative root 5. Oops, for this, hold on, I need to hit comma x for x. So because this one is different there we go. So anytime it's irrational, you do need to add that in there. So if it doesn't solve it initially, it means, hey, there's an issue here. I need to specify what I am wanting to solve for. All right, what other tools we got under here for algebra? So I could find the zeros of a polynomial. So x squared, let's see, x squared plus 4x minus 5. Oops, again, comma x. So I have to tell it what variable am I solving for, and the zeros for that will be -5 and 1. I could complete the square if I needed to complete the square on something. That is one of the options under algebra. I've not really done that one before. Numerically solve. I'm trying to remember this one. I think we're going to look at that one a little bit later. So give me a minute. I will skip over that one for right now. We will work with that one later. Fractions, I can get a common denominator. So if I have more than one fraction in a problem and I need to figure out what the common denominator is, it will actually do the whole problem and give me the common denominator. So if I had, for example, let me put my fraction, 3 over x minus 1 minus the fraction x over x plus 5. So it's going to multiply the first by x plus 5, multiply the second one top and bottom by x minus 1, do the multiplication, combining like terms, all of it together. Again, the caution symbol is going to be there just to remind you, hey, the domain may be different here, just cautionary double check. So that's kind of a nice, another little tool that it'll do for you. If I needed to factor and I was going to have a complex number, complex result, I have that as well. So algebra, it's under complex. So I could solve with complex, find the factors, find the zero. So I could factor complex. So this would be like x squared plus 5. So x squared plus 5, because when you subtract 5 and then you take the square root of -5, that'll put the i's in there for you. So again, this calculator does a lot for you. You just have to know what function you need to use, how exactly to type it in, when you do or don't have to add this extra little thing here of, yes, I'm doing it with respect to x, or things like that. Okay. It will solve for us. So it'll solve a equation. So if I had 3x minus 7 equals 10, and I want to solve for x, I'm going to put comma x. I always tell it what I'm solving for, and it is going to solve that for me. I can change the improper fraction to a mixed number. That is a option within these calculators here. So that is under number. So I could turn it to a decimal. I can go down to fraction tools, and this would be proper fraction. So proper fraction for this would be 5 2/3. So we can write it as a mixed number. But really, any formula I have here, distribution, anything that I wanted to solve for, I could solve using that solve equation. So I could even do a quadratic. So algebra solve. So x squared, we'll do the plus the 4x minus 5 equals 0. Solve for x. X is -5 or 1. So it will do all of that for me. It can actually solve formulas for a different value. So one of the formulas, let's see. So algebra solve. So let's see. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Let's do that. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I want to solve for c. And it's going to give me my answers. So I can also rearrange formulas, which is awesome. Okay, I can solve inequalities. So algebra, solve. All right, so 4x minus 15 equals negative. Oh, not equals. I'm sorry. I want an inequality symbol, so I'm going to hit control equals. Let's go greater than -3. Circle, -3. And comma x. And it will give me the inequality answer. So those are cool little things there. Before I go to graphing, okay, so let me show you how we can solve a system of equations, because that's all under the algebra here. Solve a system of equations. And if you know they're linear equations, you can just click that one there. So linear equations means it's just x and y. If you have more than x and y, you would just use solve a system of equations. So linear means I only have 2. So it's going to set it up as linearly solve. And then you have to write the 2 equations. So let's say we have y equals x squared plus, plus 6x plus 11, arrow down, and y equals 4 minus 2x. Solve for x and y. Oh, it's not going to like me because it's not linear. So let's just change that. We won't make it x squared. We'll just make it x. 6x plus 11. We'll do that. Okay, and it'll give me my 2 answers. So it literally can only be x and y for linear solve. That was my fault. If I wanted to do a higher power, I would have to use the other one, just solve. Algebra solve system. So here is where you can then determine how many equations. So 2x and y. So here it's just going to say solve instead of linearly solve. And this is where I could do that extra piece. So x squared plus 6x plus 11. Was it? Yep. And then y equals 4 minus 2x. So there it will do your pairs because it's x squared. So you're going to have 2 solutions. I could do 3 equations, 3 unknowns, or I could do that 4 equation, 4 unknown that was we did in class. I think most of you did in like Wolfram Alpha. but I can go down here and say I want 3. So x, y, z. So if I have 2x plus 3y minus 4z equals 0, negative 4x plus 3y minus z equals 5. I don't know if this is going to have a nice answer or not, but it will give me all of the answers when I'm done. Y plus z equals 10. Okay, so this one is a dependent. So if I have, oh my goodness, nope, I typed an A instead of an X. That is my fault. Let's try that again. There we go. So there was a unique solution. So clearly you can see if you get a funny answer, you may have done something wrong. I just typed an A instead of an X. So I got to be careful with that. Okay. So let me go to graphing a little bit here. So, I mean, you can look around and look at some of the other functions if you want here. So, all right, if I want to graph, I'm going to go to home and I want to graph. All right, so here is where I am going to, excuse me, answer a function. So we have 2x minus 10 graphed. If I have 2 equations, I want to graph another one. I need to get, all right, so menu, graph entry, edit. So I want to add another function. I'm going to go there. So now I can enter function 2, negative 1/3 x minus 6. Okay. And I can see that these two are going to overlap here. One thing I can do is I can click and drag on here so I can actually adjust the screen, which is nice. All right. Under here, we have our options where we could change our window. I could trace, so I could just follow one of the lines, or I could analyze here, so I could find, just like in your other calculator, this is where your zeros, min, max, intersection, all of those kinds of things are. So if I want to find the intersection, now the way this is going to work is, again, you kind of have to use that little cursor. It can get a little funky at times. So it says lower bound equals question. You see that in the side here. So that means you want to go to the left of the intersection and then click the center button. And then you're going to drag past it and you'll see the intersection highlight. And then click past it. So once you've seen that intersection pop up there, go just a little past it, click the middle button, and it's going to show you that intersection button there. Okay, if I wanted to function, so if I want to see the list, I can go up here. I can uncheck if I don't want it anymore. And then go down, uncheck it. I don't want it anymore. Oops, uncheck. And then go down. I'm going to make a new function, and let's do a quadratic so we can find max, min, stuff like that. So y equals x squared minus 4x plus 5. Oops. So this doesn't have zeros, has a minimum. So let's say I want to go edit that. Menu. I'm going to arrow up. I'm going to make that -5, so it goes underneath. There we go. All right, so menu, analyze. I want to find a 0. So again, I have to go to the left of it, and then I have to go to the right of it, and then you'll see it pop up. Click enter. All right. I can do that again for the next one. To the left, click. To the right, click. Same thing will be true for the minimum. So menu, analyze, minimum. So go to the left of it, enter. You'll go past it, enter, and then that is there. You do have the option sometimes to grab these and move them around. Again, that part is really finicky. I have a cursor and mouse, so for me, that's a lot easier. It is a lot harder when you're just using this little tiny pad right in the middle, and sometimes it doesn't work for you. Okay. So let me see if I can clear. Actions. Oops. Delete all. Yes. All right. If I want to graph inequalities, it will do that as well. Oops. That is not what I wanted to do. I changed the axes. No, I want to count by ones again. Ah. Okay, there it is. All right. So if I want to graph the inequality, let me see if I remember. Okay, function. All right, so I hit delete, and then I can change the option to a different symbol. So if I want to go less than, so this is actually a relation instead of a function. X plus 2. I've got the inequality there. I can then graph another one on top of that. So entry, that's going to be another relation. So here I could type the whole thing, y. And let's go great. I wanted greater than. I clicked the wrong symbol. Greater than. -1/4 x. All right. You'll see the dashed line there. You'll see the final shading. So it does all of that fun stuff for us as well. All right, so keep on working here. I'm now going to go back to my calculator page, and we're going to do a little bit with matrices. So I will go back home, and I'll just open a new calculate page just so that it's all nice and clean. All right, so if I have some matrices, I can do a whole bunch of different things with them. So I am going to, the easiest way to do it is to actually define them. So I'm going to define matrix A, oops, space, A equals, all right, the matrix that is under this guy, because I'm just going to have 2 by 2 matrices for starters. So this guy, so 2, 3, -1, and 4. So I want to, define matrix B is another 2 by 2. This guy. 5, 6, 0, -3. All right, so then I could actually do operations. So A plus B, matrix addition. I could do scalar multiplication. So 3 times A. It's going to multiply everything in matrix A by 3. I could do the inverse. So A's inverse. So if I go power -1 is inverse. I can do the determinant. So DET. There you go. Oh, space A, determinant of A. Oops, I need a parentheses. Determinant of A. There it is. So 11, let's see if I go back. Determinant is 2 times 4, 8, minus -1 times 3 minus -3 plus 3 is 11. I did that one correct. There are also all the matrix tools. So under menu and 7. Did not mean to click that. Menu 7. So I could create my matrix here if it's not just a 2 by 2. I could transpose or use the determinant form there. Row echelon form, reduced row echelon form. I can perform single row operations, multiply rows, lots of different things here involved. So let's say I had a different matrix. So I want to create a matrix. I'm going to make 2 rows and 3 columns. So this would be like the equations. So I want to solve a set of equations. So I can just put the coefficients in. So let's say we've got 2x minus y, so -1, equals 10. And then the second equation is x, so 1 coefficient, plus 3y, so 3, equals 15. Hit enter. And then I can reduce row echelon form this. Reduce row echelon form. And then if I want the previous matrix I did, I just arrow up, hit enter. It's going to type it in there and it's going to solve for me. So this system of equations will work when the first variable x equals 45 over 7, when y is 20 over 7. I can also do multiplication matrices. So if I wanted to do matrix A times matrix B, it'll do the matrix multiplication. So usually I like to do reduced row echelon form to be able to solve equations versus the long method that you learn in like linear algebra. But it will do that as well. That's where you have to do like the inverse times the answer. So let me do this. So what I could do is I could create a 2 by 2 matrix for the initials and 1 by 2 by 1 for the answers. So if I do that, let's define. C is the 2 by 2 matrix. 2, -1, 1, 3. And then define D as the solution matrix, which is a column matrix. And our solution was 10, 15. So the way you did it old school linear algebra is you take the inverse of C, so C to the -1 power, and then times it by D. Times it by D. And you'll get the same answers. 45 over 7, 20 over 7. So lots of things that we've kind of worked with. If you want, there's other things in here that you could look at. Just trying to show you some different ways you can do math, different tools to have in the toolbox to check answers. I don't know if all of you have taken linear algebra yet, but you may be able to use something like this to help you with some of those calculations at times. For this week, you are going to, if I go down here, again, pretty quick for assignments, nothing too much. So the first part of the assignment is you're going to create 5 problems based on anything we've covered. You must have something from the chapter 2 algebra section, something from the chapter 4 algebra section, and something from matrices. And you're just going to create a problem, type it in. You can screenshot your answers and upload them. However you want to do that works, or you can just type the problem and type the answer in a Word document or in the comments. That's fine. There's only one, PSJ this week. So if you have a function, value is 2 times the previous value plus 3 times the 2 times back value. I give you F1 and F2. Can you get to F5? So hopefully, again, because this isn't too long, you guys can work on some of that makeup work. We are in week 12, though, guys. The work needs to get in. So please, please, please get your work in so I can grade it. If you have corrections that need to be made, you have time to be able to do that. So work this week. Submit. Please find time to do that stuff. And I will see you in a few weeks.